Sony should be worried about the Steam machine, and I actually think that's a good thing. That's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, not just because it's a new player in the console race, but because, well, I actually want to buy one. Oh no, Gamer Bro wants new gamer tech. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but I need you to know that I've actually been a pretty stout PlayStation aligned gamer for the last 13 years or so, and the Steam machine is the first time the mere thought of maybe going to another platform has actually crossed my mind. Hello everyone, it's Aiden and welcome back to Push Square, the channel where I talk about all things PlayStation, and ironically today I actually want to talk about the Steam machine and how I think Sony should be a little bit worried about the thing and why that might actually be to their benefit. So let's get into it. For those out of the know, this is the Steam machine, Valve's second attempt at entering the plug-and-play console space, offering a machine that is promising to play most AAA games at 4K 60 with FSR. But of course, it's not just a console, it's a mini PC, so configuring is there for those looking for it. I'd imagine that the Steam machine is going to be a fairly similar software and UI experience to that of the ever popular Steam Deck. Now at the time of recording, this thing was just delayed due to RAM shortages and we still don't know its pricing, although leaks, rumours, statements and all seem to indicate it will be in the higher regions, anywhere between £700 and £1,000 plus. So the configuring and the pricing in particular is probably going to put a lot of you off and have you wondering, how the hell is this actually going to impact Sony in any way? But for me, it's all down to competition. Let's be real, the PS5 has had basically no competition this generation. After dominating the last generation with the PS4, Microsoft was on the back foot with the Xbox One, and that has sadly continued on this generation with the Series X and S. Call me a Sony pony, whatever, but there's no denying that Microsoft's everything is an Xbox marketing push might as well have said, please don't actually buy an Xbox. Xbox today is a service, it's not really a physical piece of hardware anymore. And I mean, why would you realistically choose the Xbox Series X over something like the PS5? And I'm not trying to be facetious here. Sure, you have Game Pass, which has the I was here first rep within the gaming streaming services, but PlayStation has the cheaper and I think better alternative with PS Plus Extra. You have access to PlayStation 5 exclusives that sort of make the console worth it on their own, and anything that would have been worth buying an Xbox for eventually makes its way to PlayStation now. The lack of competition has had its ups for PlayStation players like us for sure, because you know, we got to play more games. I was playing Sea of Thieves last year with my mates, Indiana Jones was cool, I'm keen to check out the Halo remake this year, and Starfield, well I mean that's only a matter of time before that thing's on PlayStation 5. But without another company biting at the heels of Sony, it doesn't really need to innovate. It doesn't need to try its hardest to offer up the best deal in gaming. In fact, since Xbox basically kicked the console bucket, Sony hasn't quite been the Sony that we knew and loved from a decade ago. Sure, there's still great games, the PS5 itself is great, I love it, and I still get excited when new things are announced for it. But there have been some signs, like cloud streaming being locked behind its most expensive tier on PS Plus, or the PS5 Pro being priced at £700, or even the base PS5 getting a price increase, which admittedly isn't entirely Sony's fault, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that maybe wouldn't have happened, or happened as egregiously as it did, if Xbox were selling Xbox consoles like for like with the PS5. But then look at Sony's biggest push from a games perspective this generation, which has been the much maligned live service push, releasing multiplayer games that launch day and date on other platforms like PC. Now that's not been about getting players to just play on PS5, it's about further dominating the market, even if it failed disastrously. The fact of the matter is, Sony doesn't really need to try and entice you anymore. It no longer needs to seem like the best deal because it knows you're going to come to it. But basically the chances are, if you're a console gamer, there's a really good chance that you are on PS5. And well, yes, great platform, I love it. That kind of monopoly is actually a bad thing for players. That's where the Steam machine comes in. Now, is this thing in direct competition with Sony? Well, with a rumoured price tag way above that of the PS5, for most gamers it won't be. Maybe the people considering a PS5 Pro. It is still very much a PC gamer aligned machine, since you'll likely have to tweak settings to get games running in certain ways. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a similar process to the deck verified thing we have with the Steam Deck right now. However, let's talk about what it's really offering, and that is the Steam Store. Steam has around 40 million daily active users. It has one of the most extensive gaming libraries about, and it's almost universally cheaper. The Steam sales are legendary, and it has far more games accessible via early access. I mean, when we talk about exclusives, there's so many games on PC that we just don't have on PS5 yet, like No Rest for the Wicked, Hades 2, Dune Awakening, or even small indie hits like Peak. Yeah, some of them are coming, but remember Content Warning or Lethal Company? They still aren't on consoles. And what's even better for Valve is that it has a dedicated handheld gaming device with the Steam Deck, which can play most of your games natively with cloud save progression too, all without any kind of PS Plus paywall. And thanks to the new PS strategies, we're getting PlayStation exclusives on PC, typically 2 years after they're made available on PS5. So for me, Steam really is the big pull here. It gives me access to more games than ever before and for less money. If it's able to do that while giving me the ease of access and the comfortability of a console experience, then I think a lot of people will be really interested in this thing. There are a lot of unknowables: price, stock access, the user experience, but I think even if it is more expensive, the Steam machine is offering something beyond just potentially better specs. It's access to a platform that isn't as rigid as Sony. And since Valve isn't really a game publisher, it has a different philosophy to what it allows us to play on their devices. Does it make it the better offer? Not for everyone. I mean, I still love just booting up my PS5, the party chat is built in. When I turn on my games, they just run, at least in theory. I don't need to do anything with my PS5. That's part of the charm of console gaming. And I think Steam will still have a hard time convincing people just from a perspective of brand awareness. This is a new product from a company that failed the last time it tried to launch a console. And Valve is actually a really small company, so it wouldn't be able to keep up with the supply and demand of the Steam machine in the way that Sony can with the PS5, at least not to start. However, if there's an offering there, and I think it could be a good one, then you have a potentially new big hitter in the console space, and with that, a spark of competition for Sony. A lot of what I'm talking about today, I reckon we won't really see the effects of it until maybe even late into the next generation, once the Steam machine has made its claim and Sony is moving into the PS6 generation. And all of this is without considering how much the PlayStation 6 might actually cost, or the Nintendo of it all. But I yearn for a time where there's a rival for Sony to have a back and forth with. Like, remember when Xbox had that ridiculous second-hand thing, whatever it was, and Sony just made this daft wee video as a response, with Shu handing over a game case to some other guy. That feels like Sony from a lifetime ago. I'd like it to tap back into that in some ways. I genuinely hope that the Steam machine and Valve is Sony's next great rival. But what do you think? Is the Steam machine going to be on Sony's mind, or is it just catering to an entirely different subset of gamers? Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Even better, subscribing to the channel for more chat about the world of PlayStation. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, everyone. My name is Aaron and this is Push Square, so I hope to see you another time. But until then, goodbye.